It wants her, and there is no escape. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer.
What? What
Yeah.
does that what does that even mean?
I don't know what that has to do with this movie.
There's no escape from it wanting her?
The movie poster fucking rules because, like, the dude with the gun is such a tiny part of this movie.
Yeah, he's like not in it at
Literally.
all.
Um, this
Also,
is... What, go
it
ahead.
doesn't really seem to pay any attention to her in that much, so
Well, it
weird.
makes it sound like it's like a sort of vengeance or, like, whatever thing, when it's literally just,
It,
like, a creature
yeah.
running around trying to melt people.
He's skittering.
This is episode 235 of I Hope You Suffer. I am whatever the name of this creature was that I forget.
I
I'm
called
vein
him Gorg.
slurping.
What's it called?
I called it Gorgy.
Oh, it was. I knew it was something like that, but I can't.
It was
I watched it at like 3 a.m.
Gorganium.
and I was like, I should
Yeah,
remember the name of this, and then immediately forgot when I went to
it's like
sleep.
John Gorgelson.
Yeah, I'm John Gorgelson. Katie, who
I
are
am
you?
still the Satanic Fire Department. Wee on the
You're
way display.
here to burn your house down.
Yes.
This week we are talking about 2003's Housebound, a banger.
Hmm.
Some real solid vein effects.
The
in this
entire time
film.
I was watching it, I was like, "This is very much my shit." Katie's gonna be not into it.
Well, here's my issue immediately. This is not a Christmas movie. They
Disagree.
do one of no. They do a thing that infuriates me, which is that they pretend that Christmas in July is a thing, and it's literally not. So
That's not what
I
Instagram
have a
tells me.
lot of problems. No, fuck all you people. Christmas in July is not real.
Yeah, it's Christmas in June. That's the real one.
Christmas in
June lie.
June lie. So
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
2 months of Christmas.
every month is Christmas, Katie.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
I literally
So-
I started watching this, and it starts in the winter, and then it immediately was like 6 months later, and someone was buying a Christmas tree, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
what's happening?" I was like, "But I'm here for it."
Boo.
I forgot in general that it was supposed to be a Christmas movie. I was just here for like the sick shot on video aesthetic, and it worked for me.
I mean,
Love a good shot on video film.
this was fine. It was fine. My complaints are Christmas in July, not a thing. Number two, I don't really understand how, the movie's called Housebound, and spoiler alert, you find out that one of the main characters has agoraphobia, so she can't go outside. It has nothing to do with the movie or the creature. So I'm just kind of confused about everything that happens in it.
I think somebody just wanted to make a movie with a weird giant bug, and did not come up with a plot first, and just started shooting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's his actual name is Gorgarian or Gorgarium, because that's what the subtitles say. And he's very cute. I like him a lot. I like the stuff he does. It's fine. It just overall, I was like in the. It was Christmas movie time, and this is not a Christmas movie.
I mean, really, to be fair,
It's not
mine
even a
was
movie
barely
that
a
takes place
Christmas
during
movie.
Christmas. It's neither of the criteria.
We kind of hit a
But it's
point
fine.
like where I think it seems like Kit and I were doing the same sort of thing. We were trying, like, we probably just searched Christmas horror movies.
Yep.
And like I specifically, like I said, I was trying to find something that wasn't just the same old, like, here's a dude in a Santa outfit trying to kill somebody, like. And it probably like if especially when you look at Letterboxd, like people will make lists of the where it's just like every movie that just mentions possibly being around Christmas time or Christmas is mentioned in it, and you just pick something and it just like ends up barely being about Christmas.
You mean like every single time I pick like a ghost movie and there's no ghost in it? I get it. Okay, I get it.
I should have gone with Feeders 2. Feeders 2 as a Christmas cover.
Yeah, but we haven't seen Feeders 1 yet.
Doesn't matter.
Those are like the only movies that I ever hear anyone actually say are good from the Polonias, so I'm always like, maybe I'll check these out, but then I'm just like, I'm good. So,
Yeah.
I feel like it sounds like they were possibly making good movies back in the day, and then CGI happened, and they were just like, we don't have to try anymore.
Yeah,
just make...
I think so.
Oh, thank God.
Like, I stumbled across a movie called Doll Shark that I was like, oh, fuck
Nope.
yes, and then the minute I opened it, I saw it was Mark Polonia directing. I was like, well, this is going to be terrible. I'm not even bothering.
Yeah, it was like after this movie, it was like recommending movies to me, and I saw Amityville Scarecrow 2, and I was like, what? Already?
Yeah,
It's
they're
just-
like that. That shit's
just
just
stop.
like every 2 months is happening now.
Boo. Okay.
So Katie did not like that this was not her
It's
kind of
whatever.
Christmas movie.
I mean, I think it's really giving it a lot of credit to say it's a Christmas movie at all, but
this is now on my Christmas watch list every year.
it was fine. I think like overall my only like I can appreciate what they were trying to do with like the effects because they were like pretty gnarly. I liked the creature. I liked that it was a creature. But I think that like for the content of this movie, hate to just say the same thing I always say, but a little long because there's like a part in the middle where it's
like an hour 15 minutes.
Yeah, but like
I
for
know
the
it's just funny.
So like there's this like one part where the main character has like a dream memory of like a babysitter talking to her, and it goes on for like half an hour, and I was just like, this is not necessary at all because it doesn't have anything to do with the plot. But I mean, he kills a decent amount of people, so you know there's that. But yeah, I don't know. I would have made some different choices overall. It was fine.
It's one of those movies that like if it wasn't like an SOV movie, I would have been so fucking mad. But there's something about like the aesthetic of these movies that just like does it for me. That even if they're like this, where like most of it's kind of boring, like anytime someone like melts or like their veins are fucking slurping all over the place, I was way on board. The soundtrack, bonkers. Got Twisted Tower Dyer doing some songs for some reason, like just some fucking weird Iron Maiden-ish metal playing over a bunch of shots of a
fucking rad. So good.
Bunch of shots of empty fields for some reason.
I watched through the credits.
I did too.
Because I was like, I want to keep listening to these rockin' tunes.
Well, I also got to the thing that said there was footage from a movie called Christmas Season Alligator Massacre that I cannot find any information about, and I'm so mad.
I assumed it's like whatever the people in the hotel are watching.
Well, I'm wondering if it's a thing that maybe there was like footage for something that just never got released, because there's zero information about that being a thing that exists. Like, even if like it says like starring these two actors or whatever, that if you even go look at them and like I looked through both of their filmographies to see if it was like there was an alternate title for whatever that was, and like all that shit is just nothing to be found. It made me very mad because I want to see
kickstart it.
Whatever that movie is. More Christmas, like fuck this like Christmas Santa Claus shit, like just an alligator eating people on Christmas. That's what I want.
But the alligator's Santa Claus.
Yeah, he could just have a little Santa hat like Santa Jaws.
Yeah.
Kit, what'd you think?
I thought it was okay. It was pretty boring, but all of the effects I thought were really good for something that was clearly just shot in someone's house. Like, just the person who did the film, like, oh, we're just gonna film this stupid little thing in my house. Whatever, who cares? So I was really impressed by that.
Yeah, it starts out and ends like really well.
Yeah,
Like the effects are
strong
cool. Like
bookends.
the acting's, it's whatever. It's like people who aren't, real actors just doing what they can in like this.
It's exactly what you'd expect from a shot-on-video movie. Like, par for the course.
It just makes like that middle section a little rough, but like I was here for it. The dude who's like bad at video games. Very strange like interaction.
I have something to say about that when we get to it. Yeah.
What? Because I'm bad at video games? You gonna make me feel bad?
Because they were clearly playing a PlayStation 1, and the sound effects were from Donkey Kong Country, which is not a PlayStation game. Like, come on.
It could be where they're at.
Yeah. You don't know what Earth this is.
All right. Okay.
What if this is Flashpoint and like Flash ran back in time and fucked things up, and now Donkey Kong's in a PlayStation game?
That would be a really weird thing to
That's the only
happen.
thing that changed.
That would be so weird.
Butterfly effect, but for Donkey Kong.
Yeah. Ashton Kutcher strangled himself in the womb, and now PlayStation has Donkey Kong games.
That'll be a much better movie.
What a weird turn of events, yeah.
All right. Let's talk about this barely a plot.
Before we begin, I believe we have a new Patronus.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. It's been a week. Yeah, we have a new patron. Shane joined last week. Wanted to hear about some gremlins.
Yeah.
Definitely a shining star amongst movies.
Hope you enjoyed hearing the whole Key and Peele sketch at the end of that episode.
I know I do.
My favorite part.
Pew, 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 pew.
I'm just going to skip past us talking and just listen to that.
Yeah.
You had me a little gremlin for JJ. That's in the movie. Best line. Yeah, thanks for joining, Shane. There's more episodes a coming. Maybe one out this week if I get to it. Technically, it's edited, but I'm waiting on a possible
money well earned
new theme song. So I'm like waiting to release it in case Jeremy's working on like a remix for it of the theme song for it. So I'm waiting, and if not, it'll be out like next week with the regular one or whatever. So
okay.
But there's
very excited to hear it.
Yeah. Katie and I recorded an episode for the Patreon on like 5 Christmas episodes of like DC and Marvel cartoons. Spoiler, we talk about Batman and Spider-Man the whole episode. Which is all we ever talk about in them.
Yeah, it's the Batman Spider-Man show.
Till we get to Mystery Men with Kit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where we probably will still just talk about Batman and
Hell
Spider-Man.
no, I'm talking about that sick bowling ball with the skull in it the whole episode. And how they fucked up by not having flaming carrot in it. Alright, yeah.
Alright. Let's get her done. So this movie starts again, as most of our movies do somehow, in the woods. The subtitles tell us that the wind is howling. There's somebody who is walking through a cemetery, and also a different person who was walking through the woods with a gun. This is where we see the subtitle Gorgarium growling, and it's literally like...
It rules because you don't even hear
like
that name until the last like 3 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Literally.
It's like, what?
Literally. So I wrote it down originally because I was like, what the fuck is that? And ends up being the creature. So spoilers early. But so I called him Gorgie for the rest of the movie. So So then I think like these two people who are wandering around separately are actually working together because they like call to each other or whatever. And then the guy finds a backpack and then he is attacked by something that we don't see. The woman goes to find him and just sees like his leg sticking out of the snow and a bloody footprint. And she goes, "That's it. I'm out of here." Which I don't blame her for, honestly. Then there is a POV. At this point, I just wrote of whatever is following her. It's Gorky. We get a lot of Gorky POV in this, which is really just somebody running with a camera. And so it's chasing her, and then she falls over and shoots. There's a splatter of blood, but I think she didn't make it. Now it's 6 months later. It's spring. It's July. And at this point, I'm thinking, what the fuck? Because before, it, like you said, it was snowy. And there's a radio broadcast basically talking about how hot it is. And she's just going on and on about how hot and spicy it is outside. And there's some, like, sick hair metal that starts playing. Somebody's just driving around to basically the extent of the entire song.
Yeah, they play the entire
just, like,
song
while the
over
credits.
just footage of like fields on like a back road. It's a very strange decision.
Yeah. I liked it kind of because I could just like not pay attention at that
It's just,
point,
it's
and
just
I just was
such
like,
a weird choice of like, you know what, like what goes well with just empty fields? This fucking
Hair metal.
Judas Priest
Yeah.
type song, just fucking rocking. Like,
I think so. I liked it.
I do love that they have their own credit as composers under the on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
Well deserved. Good job, Twisted Tower Dyer.
Yes. I also had no idea if that was a real band or not, but I liked it.
Apparently it is, because they have a shit ton of albums on Encyclopedia
Good for you.
Metal or whatever, and Shane was like, "Oh yeah, I like that band." And I was like, "Well, you'll like the beginning and end of this movie."
Of course.
And the end.
Yes, I liked it. I liked it actually a lot. Very unexpected because like the movie like starts with like just like, you know, pensive like acoustic guitar, and I was just like, oh god, are we doing this again? And then it was just like and I was like, okay, all right, I'm here for it. So eventually after that 5-minute song stops, the car parks and a guy whose name is Terry gets out and takes a chainsaw out of his trunk and then taps on the window with it. Seems like a bad idea.
Well,
And is basically like talking to the girl in the passenger seat whose name is Nancy. And he's like, why don't you come with me out here to do this thing? And, you know, we don't know what's going on at this point. And she basically is like in a bad mood. And he's just like, why are you having such an attitude with me? And she's like, because it's hot and I hate summer and I want to go home and read a book. And I was like, Nancy, I feel you. Like, I relate heavy. Summer is the worst. But he's also wearing a leather jacket, so I'm like
everyone
a little
in this movie's
confused
dressed
about
for
what's
it to
happening.
be like 50 degrees out.
Yeah, which is why I don't really understand the choice to go with Christmas in July. Like, just make it Christmas.
Like,
I don't really understand.
She's got like a sweatshirt wrapped around her waist the entire time. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't understand what these people are doing in July that they feel they need jackets all the time.
Also, that we spent like 5 minutes of the movie listening to a broadcaster talking about how fucking hot it was. So I'm just like confused about the situation. But you know what? Whatever. Oh, so this is when we find out that it's Christmas in July, and I drew a mad face next to it. And like essentially what's happening here is that they're arguing because of we find out that they're talking about her sister whose name is Heidi. And they're basically just like arguing about the task at hand, which is that he's going to cut down a Christmas tree because they haven't really had Christmas. And so he's going to give her a Christmas in July or whatever. And so he goes to the tree and cuts it down. And we see a shot of inside the tree where there's like some kind of creature. I couldn't really tell like what was going on with the creature at this point. It kind of looks like a fuzzy spider bat puppet. Like, I don't really know what it is, but
it just looks like a fucking like a giant bug you buy at a Halloween store that they just put some like fuzz on.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sometimes it has like spiny like tendril fingers, and sometimes it doesn't. So I don't really know, but it's in there. And so they cut down the tree. Back at the house, Heidi just, piddles around. She pets her bird and she plays solitaire and she reads on like the smallest couch I've ever seen. There's so many couches in their house. They're falling asleep on couches constantly, which
Yeah, it's called
honestly,
wanting to be comfortable.
I'm envious. So then she like I don't know what's going on here. She like senses something, or I don't know what's going on, but she goes and opens the door to outside, and she puts one foot outside the door, and then she faints. So Nancy and Terry come home with the Christmas tree, and Nancy like walks in and sees Heidi just like passed out in the door frame, and just is like, oh, classic Heidi, and like rolls her eyes and like sits on the couch, which I thought was very funny.
It's a very strange reaction to your sister, like coming over. Your sister's just like laying on the ground outside,
just like literally passed out, yeah, and just like rolls her eyes and like sits on the couch or whatever. Then we see a shot of two dudes who I called MIB. I don't know what they were. I don't know what's going on with them, but they're wearing black tuxedos and like glasses. I'm pretty sure they're twins, which, good for them. That seems fun. And
I was like, what do you mean good for them? Yeah.
They worked hard for it.
Yeah.
Earned it.
And they're standing there and they're just like, the tree is gone. And then the other guy's like, if it's awake, it'll need to eat or feed or whatever. And I was like, wow.
These men in black are
Heidi.
such a weird choice.
Yeah. They're also not good at their job, which we'll get to. So Heidi, has passed out. Terry like picks her up and is just like, what's wrong with you? Will you help me? And Nancy's just like, no. So later, Heidi is talking to Terry about having agoraphobia, which is, for some reason, if you don't know what agoraphobia is like, you're scared to go outside, which fair, honestly.
I would also like to never go outside.
Yeah, but she's like so scared of going outside, obviously, that she like passes out if she tries to go outside, and she tells him that she has had the condition since she was a child, so she's literally never gone outside in her whole life, which I don't know, that seems kind of shitty, but
I guess she's just born in that house, or like whatever period that happens as a kid, they've just lived in that house the entire time. Like how? Yeah, I guess you wouldn't be able to move.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, obviously there's like varying levels of agoraphobia, and I don't really know if this extremity is something
I'm sure
that's, like,
it is. Like, I'm
common,
sure
but like,
yeah, like I guarantee there's people that like have it to the point that it's literally like, I don't know about passing out, but like the thought of leaving the house is like crippling. So like, it's just, I was just thinking about that. I was like, so, because I guess that would just mean they've literally been in that house since she was 4 or whatever when the babysitter thing happens.
Yeah, and she says later something about like her grandparents. So like, I think so. Like I think that the house has just been in her family. She tells Terry about how she couldn't even go to her parents' funeral, and like she feels bad about that, obviously. Then he's like, oh, I got a surprise for you. So he shows her the tree that he brought, and she's like, oh, like what, why? And he's like, oh, well, Nancy told me you guys didn't do Christmas, so I thought this would cheer you up. Let's decorate it. I made Nancy like go get decorations or whatever, and then Nancy's just like, whatever, and like goes to her room to listen to music. While Heidi and Terry decorate the tree. Terry, so then like later after the tree's decorated, they're like sitting on the couch, and she's like, wow, the tree looks beautiful, and he's like, yeah. there's a lot of things in this house that are beautiful. And she's like, we need to talk. And I was like, oh no. So yeah, he kind of like makes a move on her, and she basically is just like, hey, like I really appreciate everything you've been doing for me, but like I just want to be friends or whatever. And then he's just like, I gotta go. Even though earlier he had a conversation with Nancy where Nancy was like, she's not gonna sleep with you, and he was like, I don't care about that at all. I just want to be friends. I like her. And then immediately he's like and like running out of the house. And then she's like, call me, and he's like, sure, and then he leaves. Gorgie inside the tree, I wrote, something opens its furry eye from inside the tree. This was kind of weird because it looked like a person in like a fuzzy gorilla costume, like opening its eyeball. But then we never see eyeballs on Gorgie again, so it was a little confusing. But basically it jumps out of the tree. This is all POV, first of all. Follows Heidi like through the house. But she goes into the bathroom and shuts the door, so then it like veers off into Nancy's room. And it like cuts away from Nancy, and we hear screaming. And Heidi runs in there, but it turns out that Nancy was just dreaming. And then it pans over to an open window.
That's not good.
Then we see, no. But see, that's something, like it immediately leaves them alone and just like leaves the house. So I don't know.
That's not what the tagline told me. Tagline told me it's specifically after her.
I know, that's why I'm confused. And also, like, this movie doesn't really take place in the house. I assumed that he was going to be like terrorizing them from inside the house the whole movie, but he doesn't really do that. He's just like, he's just like cruising around town. Anyway.
Joyriding.
Yes. He's just, being freeballing around. Little Gorgie.
As Gorgies like to do.
Yeah. As Gorgs are wont to do. So there's a couple at a hotel who are watching a shitty movie. I assume this is Alligator Christmas Massacre or whatever the fuck.
I need it. Someone make that movie for me.
Yeah. Figure out what's going on with that.
Make it good.
They're watching this movie, and the girl is just like, this movie sucks, like, and he's like, I know, right? And he's like, really, obviously he loves it, and she's like trying to like get his attention or whatever, and then eventually they retire to the bed, so to speak, and we see Gorgie like skittering around, and and then afterwards, the two of them are just like sitting there, and she was just like, well, that was fast. And he was like, it's been a while. I'm going to get a beer. And he leaves. And then she says to no one, he needs to get better at that. And I was like, oh my God.
I mean, he was probably too excited for watching that alligator movie. I get it.
Yikes.
You can't make Christmas season Alligator Massacre your foreplay and expect him to not be fucking ready to go and...
He's just busting at the seams, so to speak. So she goes to take a bath while he is drinking a beer, and he hears something and goes to like check. There was like this whole thing earlier where he was mad that she had the window open or whatever. So he goes to check on the window, and then Gorgie bites him in the butt, I assume, and he's just like, oh, what the fuck?
Not my butt.
Not the moneymaker. Outside at some I don't know where they are, but they're just in a car. The MIB guys are just like sitting in the car, and a alert goes off with a flashing green light, and they're just like, it is beginning. So we find out that like these MIB people have a alarm that goes off every time Gorgie kills people, and I don't understand how that is a thing.
Seems
like,
weird.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't understand I mean, like, I know they're from the future or something's going on here, but like, seems weird. Then there's just like a shot of the dude's arm, and it's like all bloody and like mucusy, for lack of a better term. There's like this like kind of like like goop on them, but it's like green colored. It's disgusting.
It was very
Green.
reminiscent to me of like some other like movie that people melted, and I couldn't put my finger on it. But it's like, yeah, they're like, essentially they like when they're all melty, they have this like red, white, and like green and yellow, just like goo all over them, and it rocks.
Pretty gross. So yeah, he's dead or whatever. The girl in the bathtub, like reaches her hand over the tub or whatever, and then gets like. We learned that Gorgie just like pokes them with a little thing, like, and then her veins turn black, and it makes the sound of somebody slurping out of a straw when that happens. It's like.
Yeah, that's what your veins turning black sounds like. Scientifically.
We should do.
Yeah.
We should do ASMR. Just all of us going for like an hour.
Then her veins turn black, and she also gets all bloody and goopy and whatnot. And it's pretty gross because but like whatever the stuff is that they put on her starts like mixing in with the bathwater, and it looks so gross, like in a good way, obviously. The MIB guys show up to the scene. Meanwhile, there's another hotel guest who shows up and walks into her hotel room, leaves the door open for whatever fucking reason. And there's like this whole scene where she's basically just like talking on the phone to somebody that she like left, and she's like, "You really fucked this up. You messed up a good thing," or some shit or what. I don't know. It's just unnecessary. But essentially, she hears a noise and she goes to inspect it, and she has a gun for some reason. And so then she decides that the noise that she's hearing is that there's a squirrel loose in her room, but she's not very concerned about it because she immediately decides that she's just going to get ready for bed. So
well, yeah,
she goes into...
You have to take your pants off if you're going to go like hunt for a squirrel in your house. It's just
Makes sense.
how it works.
What else are you gonna trap the squirrel with?
Yeah.
You throw your pants over it.
You have to take your leg, you have to like close off like the end of the leg so that when they climb in, you could just grab the other end and then they're trapped.
Okay, fair. So then she goes into the bathroom and she's basically just like reminiscing about how she's mad or whatever. And then Gorgie drops down on her. This is where we see him puncture her, and then he like skitters across the floor, and he's just like a fluffy thing, very cute. Meanwhile, the MIB guys are in the other room where those two people died, pretending to vacuum. They're just like cleaning up the mess.
I'd be real pissed if I like was a Men in Black and had to like vacuum shit up.
Right, and it's like so funny because they're just like standing and like moving their arms like right off camera to make it just like look like they're vacuuming, but they don't even have an actual vacuum, and I found it very funny.
That's good filmmaking.
Yeah. The girl who got gored gets all veiny and stuff, and then she lays on the ground or like lays down on the bed and reaches for her gun and then just shoots herself so she doesn't have to deal with whatever's going on to her. And the MIB guys hear the gunshot and come over. They also leave the door open, so Gorgie escapes out the door. And they're just kind of like, at least she ended things before it got too painful. And I was like, sure. Okay, now there's two other random guys who are arguing about this van being broken down or whatever. One of them goes to smoke and gets gorged immediately. Then he stumbles back into the garage and is like all slimy and goopy and whatever, and he's just like and the other guy's like, oh my god, and he like gets in the van, but Gorgie was already in the van, and it just like cuts to black and he screams. Then the MIB guys show up again, and one of them says, "This is becoming a serious problem." I mean, because they got to keep showing up and cleaning up all these dead bodies.
Yeah, that's a lot
One
of
of them
vacuuming
picks
you gotta
up,
do.
like, seriously, though. Also,
Vacuum gets filled
what-
up, then you have to empty it out. It's a hassle.
I feel like it would be really, really difficult to vacuum up that goo. Like, what are they vacuuming exactly?
Maybe they burn the body and it's just all the ashes.
That's fair. That is a possibility.
That seems like even more work.
Somehow just the body, not the rest of the hotel.
Yeah. the like cleaning crew shows up and they're like, where'd these people go? Why is there just like a burn mark on the carpet? Oh well, they're probably fine. So,
NBD.
Jesus Christ. Christopher Nolan says Christopher Nolan apparently bragging that they set off a nuclear weapon so that he could film it for Oppenheimer.
Why?
Christopher Nolan says he recreated the
Realism.
first nuclear weapon detonation without using CGI for Oppenheimer.
I don't
Curious
care for that.
what he did.
Just blew up a whole fucking New Mexico town just to
just obliterated like
just so
400 people.
Everybody could stop talking about this movie 2 months after it's come out.
Literally.
I'm gonna go see Barbie that day.
I would rather see Barbie, honestly. I'm not a Christopher Nolan fan.
I like his movies, but
I
don't know. I'm over it.
He lost me with almost everything post the Dark Knight trilogy. Like, Inception's like whatever. Like, it looks good, but like I could not give a fuck about almost anything happening in that movie other than like some of the like the fight scenes in like the final act or whatever, where they're all like, like especially that one in the hallway where the broom's just like spinning around and shit is pretty great.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, like generally on like a plot level or whatever, I usually am not at all interested in any of his movies. But like, I'll give it up to him for like, he's obviously almost everything's pretty visually great, but I don't know. I feel like setting off a fucking bomb somewhere seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, not great. Either way.
Just in general, bad for the environment for a movie.
Yeah, fair. Very fair.
Do like Mission Impossible. Do a tiny one. Or not Mission Impossible. Independence Day. Where you just blow up a fucking miniature. Just do that shit.
Yeah. Also, don't really need to be nuking stuff, if you ask me, but that's just my opinion,
It would have been so funny if it just like ended up accidentally fucking like nuking some small town just to make this fucking movie.
Classic Nolan.
Good old Nolan.
He was just
Turn
like,
it into the Joker.
Well, we got it on film, right? So
Yeah, they forgot to film the first time. They didn't do it again.
Oh shit. Okay, so the MIB guys show up and are like, "Wow, this is a big issue now." Also, one of them picks up a skull and it looks pretty stupid. I did not understand what was going on with the skull in this situation.
I don't remember a skull being in this.
He like picked it up and it kind of looked like.
Oh, okay, yeah. And like it almost looks like it was made out of like fucking hamburger meat or some shit.
I don't know what was going on with it, but I did not like that.
It looks sort of flat and weird. Like that's what I remember it now. Like it was very weird. Like it looked like. It almost looked like when you see one of those like before or like the what Pinterest had and versus what you made or whatever kind of pictures where it was like somebody was trying to make a Halloween decoration out of like hamburger meat and it's just like this weird flat almost skull shaped thing.
Yeah, it was not great. So Gorgie at this point goes back to Heidi and Nancy's house and gets into his little tree cubby house thing. The next morning, Heidi wakes up and takes a bath then again, she's just like, wandering around or whatever. And this is where I wrote, they have so many couches because she finds Nancy sleeping on a couch. And it's just like, haha. And then, they go to sit on a different couch. So many couches. Nancy wakes up and then they immediately start arguing about the fact that Nancy is going to a party and Heidi doesn't like her friends and stuff. And she's just like, you're not my mom. She's dead. And I was like, fair, but she's Heidi's mom too. So kind of rude. And so then Heidi calls Perry and asks him to come over after work. And he's just like, yeah, okay. This entire section of the movie is completely unhinged. It's like cutting between things happening and the music is all crazy, and like I was having a hard time figuring out what was going on here. But basically Heidi falls asleep and she dreams about a time where a babysitter talks to her about having agoraphobia. She's a little child, so there's like a child responding to the babysitter talking to her, which was very weird. And then the babysitter says, do you want to hear a scary story about something that happened to me when I was little? Great babysitter, number one. And so then the babysitter goes on.
It's it's just like on par with fucking Halloween Ends, where the dude's just like, they're like, our kid has really bad nightmares, and it's like, you want to watch The Thing?
Like literally, yeah. So the babysitter goes on like a fucking 20-minute monologue about this thing that happened to her, which essentially can boil down to she was at a family reunion. She got lost in the woods. She ended up at a cemetery, and even though she was like 5, she has an existential crisis about dying. Then she did say this one line that cracked me up. She said, I freaked in the graveyard. Me too, girl. She sees what she thinks is the Grim Reaper. She learned about the Grim Reaper in school somehow. And the Grim Reaper just proceeded to chase her around the woods until she stumbled upon a mansion where she was able to call her parents and they came and saved her. Great. But this is like it goes on for so long. She's like, the woods were dense and deep that night. She's like, he was the moonlight. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, it goes on forever. Then Heidi immediately has a dream that is a reenactment of a car accident, which is how I assumed their parents died. And then the babysitter asks if she wants to hear another scary story about monsters.
Hold on. I thought the parents were supposed to be like the couple at the beginning.
No, because they're already. This
revelation just broke my brain, because the entire time I assumed their parents were like the people that died at the very beginning.
They're the Christmas trees.
Well, that makes more sense.
That was a different movie. I have no idea. They don't say how the parents died. I don't have any other explanation for why we see a car crash and explosion.
I guess that makes sense, because like I remember that, but I guess like as I was watching it, I guess I just maybe zoned out. I wasn't paying attention during this part, but like I think the entire time I thought their parents were supposed to be like the 2 people that get killed by Gorgie at the beginning.
I don't have an answer for you.
What the fuck?
So, yeah. So then she has a dream. She continues her babysitter dream where the babysitter asks if she wants to hear another story about monsters. And I was like, oh my God, are we going to have to sit through another fucking 20 minutes of this babysitter talking? But thankfully, Heidi wakes up. And we're through the thick of it, because that was terrible.
The best part of the movie.
Later that night, Terry shows up and Heidi asks him to stay and keep her company while Nancy goes to the party because she doesn't like Nancy's friends, and they're gonna play some video games. And this is where I was just infuriated, because she's like, I got a new video game, say you want to play? And he's like, I'm not very good at video games. And then they sit in front of a PlayStation 1 and play Donkey Kong Country, which, no.
I'm
absolutely not.
Terrible at video games, but that doesn't stop me from wanting to play them.
Also, yeah, I guess I don't know, whatever.
It's just such like a
Performance issues,
weird
maybe.
fucking like thing
Yeah,
of like,
he's
well,
like
I'm bad
really
at them. Like,
upset.
who cares? Just play
Yeah,
them.
he's like really upset about having to play games with her. But Nancy has left for the party, and like while they're playing video games or whatever, the power goes out, and Heidi is like, "Okay, I'm gonna go get a flashlight. Can you go and flip the breaker?" Which is
What it's
in a
across
shed
town.
past the barn, which seems. I mean, I don't really know. I know actually kind of a fair amount about electricity, and I just like don't really see how that's probable, because then he's just like, he says something about how like that's weird, and she's like, yeah, I know, it's an old house, my grandparents wired it. And I was like, your grandparents wired it like 1,000 feet away from, I mean, I don't know anything about measurements, but it seems like a very, very far away.
Very inconvenient
To
if
be
your
away
power
from your
goes
house.
out in general.
That also.
When
And so he's just like, okay, fine.
the house Caitlin and I lived at before the one we're in now, the box was like behind the refrigerator, so you
Right.
had to like pull the refrigerator out anytime like something happened. It was the worst.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. Why not? Not a hazard at all, you know.
Yeah.
To have something that contains liquid in it to be in front of your breaker box seems normal.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes, of course. Heidi hears noises and she goes and like looks at the tree. Then there's a jump scare of the lights turning back on or whatever. This is where we get Gorgie vision of him going out the window.
He goes in and out of windows a lot.
Yeah,
Loves a good window. And can you blame him?
Kind of. I don't like windows.
You can only be defenestrated if there's a window.
That's true. Yep. Nancy realizes that she has forgotten her wallet, and her friend is like, it's fine, I got you. And she's like, no, I need my wallet. And so she makes her friend turn around. Meanwhile, Terry has, flipped the lights on. He's just outside chilling and hears a noise. He goes to his car and gets his shotgun out of the trunk and then duct tapes the flashlight to it so he can look around. Gorgie comes up and, it's like, and like skitters up to him or whatever. And he shoots at it. It like cuts away or whatever. Nancy arrives at the house and Heidi is like, oh my God, like, thank God you're here. The power went out. Terry went to go check on it, but he's been gone for 15 minutes. Can you go check on him? And she's like freaking out. I'm not, whatever.
So it feels like if I was this badly agoraphobic, I would maybe not want to live in a house where the power box is like not in the house.
Yeah, that seems fair to me.
I was just like, everything about the way this woman lives seems very inconvenient to her, like, her, like, disorder or whatever.
Yeah. So Nancy, of course, is like, like, whatever, fine, and like goes, and her friend is like, whatever, I'm staying here, and like gets in her car, and she gets gorgied pretty fast. So Heidi calls the cops, and the sheriff asks if it's just pranks happening. And she's like, I don't think that it's pranks. And he's just like, well, I reckon you can call me back if anything else happens, and like hangs up on her. So he is useless. Nancy is out there looking around. There's a jump scare where Terry grabs her and is just basically like, there's something out here. I've never seen it before. You got to get your sister and get out of here. Something's coming or whatever. And so Nancy runs and Gorgie gets Terry. Again, Terry's in the movie for like a total of 5 minutes, but he's on the cover for some reason.
He's the only one holding a gun.
Sure. That makes sense. Easiest way to sell your movie.
So Gorgie murders that guy, right? And so that's when the MIB is alerted to the fact that Gorgie has killed. So they're going to go there. Nancy gets to the house, tells Heidi that Terry is dead. She's like, something's out there, something got him, he's dead. Heidi, even though Heidi just called the police to say weird shit's happening, does not believe Nancy that something is going on. And she just goes, what do you want me to do? Call the cops? And I was like, bitch, you just called the cops. So why is that weird? Anyway, she picks up the phone and the phone line's dead. So Nancy is like, I'm going to go get my dad's gun, and like goes into the study, but Gorgie's in there, and they see him and they scream and shut the door. And Nancy is just like, see, I told you. Okay, Nancy, or Heidi, like, time to get over your agoraphobia, and is trying to like push her out the door. But Heidi's like, no, and like slaps Nancy across the face. And Nancy just fucking runs out of the house and leaves her in there, which I thought was so funny. She's like, Nancy, I'm sorry. And she's like, peace out, bitch.
I probably would too if she slapped me.
Yeah, I'd be like, all right, see ya. So Nancy's running around outside in the dark, and she ends up running into one of the MIB guys. Meanwhile, Gorgie is chasing Heidi around her house, and she gets away from him sort of by like hiding on top of the couch, and then he eventually jumps on her back, and she slow-mo falls to the floor, and Gorgie hits her, and she gets all sucky veins. Nancy and the MIB guys come into the house and see Heidi on the ground, supposedly dead, right? And then the MIB guys lift their glasses, and there's a bright light that comes out of their eyes, and then they show Gorgie, and Gorgie just kind of like shines brightly and then disappears. And the MIB guy then injects Heidi with something, and she's cured. She's no longer dead. And Nancy is just like, I think you owe me an explanation. And they're like, okay. And they essentially just talk about how Gorgie is from a planet that is not ours. And they're talking about how like this creature escaped to Earth, and it had a parasite on it, which was Gorgie. And Gorgie was hibernating because he doesn't like the cold, and so that's why it took him 6 months later to come awake and start killing people. And it's fine now. And they basically just like say, don't tell anybody because we know where you live. And then they flash their shiny eyes at her, and she's just like, okay. And he's like, no one else will remember what happened. We can't do anything about the people that died though. See ya. And then they disappear. Heidi wakes up, and Nancy is just like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're awake. And it's like nice to her or whatever. And I thought at first that Heidi forgot she had agoraphobia, because she's like, she gets up and she goes, I feel great. I'm going to go for a walk. And she just like walks out the front door, but then it like pans outside of the house, and Heidi has passed out on the lawn, and Nancy like walks over to her and just like shakes her head like, Heidi. And then it shows the MIB guys, and he's like, oh no, Gorgie has replicated. And the other guy's like, what? Impossible. And then it starts playing really, really loud hair metal again over somebody in the woods getting attacked. And then it's like the credits, which is like still frames of the characters with like their name. And I turned it off, so I didn't know if there was anything else going on, but the credits were like 8 minutes long.
You get like more music, and then like there's like the thing like I posted about like, you know, they use that footage from that alligator movie, and I feel like there's some other like another interesting sort of like thing with a bunch of words, but I can't remember what it is at this point.
Yeah, no idea.
The credits are extremely long because, like you said, it'll be like 5 to, I don't know, 8 seconds, like still frame of the actor, and then it's like their name and who they played, and then it does it for like you know, almost every single person that worked on the movie, no matter like what they did. It goes on for very long. But you get 2 Twisted Tower Dire songs.
Worth it.
Yep, 2 whole songs. Yeah, I liked it though. They're good.
Like completely surprised this movie was remotely watchable based on the poster.
Same.
You know what?
Big
Me
same.
too, honestly, yeah. I thought we were in for a world of hurt, and it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it made me want to start watching some SOV stuff again because I haven't watched them in a while. So I might try to dive. I gotta get to that fucking Heartland of Darkness movie still.
Yeah, I need to know if that's any good.
I've seen a lot of like good reviews. I have not had like any time, my fucking work schedule this month, to actually sit and watch movies that I have to pay attention to.
Right.
All right. Any news, Katie?
No. I mean, most of what I saw was like sad stuff.
Well, that's still news.
We're only doing good news here, okay?
Angelo Badalamenti? I forget how to pronounce his last name.
Angelo
Badalamenti.
Badalamenti.
Yeah.
Died like literally as
Yeah.
we were starting to record. Or
Yeah,
the
which is
news
sad.
came out. I feel like there's someone else. Did someone else die this week? Or am I just like equating it with when like 8 people died the week Kevin Conroy did?
I know there's been
That's
a lot
been
of
nonstop.
unfortunate deaths recently.
And it's all good
but...
people. Like, why can't fucking like, Sean Hannity or somebody real shitty not get to live?
Elon Musk.
Yeah, they're all gonna get to live to be like 110, but people actually doing good shit that makes the world a better place just like die like when they're like 68. A bad fucking planet. I hate it.
Terrible.
Yeah,
Terrible
not
world.
great.
Let me see. I feel like I need to start like making a note when there's like a news story I see that is worth talking about, because I feel like I see something like 2 days after we record, and then by the time we record I completely forget. James Cameron hints we're finally getting The Abyss released in 4K.
Yeah.
I haven't seen The Abyss.
Only been teasing it for like a fucking decade now.
I haven't seen that movie in so long. I'd be interested to see like a really nice like cleaned up version.
It's really good. Say HBO was playing like at least an HD version for a while.
Did we talk about how?
Because
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that he's been teasing a Blu-ray for it, for 7 or 8 years before this, and it just took so goddamn long. He's like, oh well, it's a 4K now, and it's gonna take longer.
I'm surprised James Cameron hasn't like created a new fucking updated thing from 4K, like 8K now or something.
Yeah. Right.
Shawnee Smith reportedly in talks to return for Saw 10. I don't know if we talked about how they're doing another Saw or not, but
of course they are.
I think we did, yeah. No thanks.
Katie, did you see Mike Flanagan and Trevor Macy are planning a new adaptation of The Dark Tower?
Yeah.
I did, actually, which is very
Let's go.
funny because I recently stumbled across Mike Flanagan's TikTok account, which if you have TikTok, you absolutely have to follow him because he's so funny, and he posts a lot of videos with Kate Siegel, who I also love. So, not Kate Siegel. What's her name?
Katie Siegel?
Siegel?
Katie Siegel.
There you go, Siegel.
I mean, close.
No. Kate, she's...
somebody else.
Yeah. But very, very close names, very, very different people. And somebody asked him, like, would you, it's a lot of like Q&As and then like him showing, like his pieces, like from his collection from sets in his house, and his house looks like just amazing with like all the sets or whatever. Anyways, somebody asked him, like, would you consider doing a adaptation of The Dark Tower? And he was just like, yeah, I would absolutely love to do that. I've actually had the rights to it for a while. And I was like, oh, interesting. And then the next day I saw that news story and I was just like, okay, let's do it. Let's go.
Kid, did you watch the Infinity Pool trailer?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
I
saw it the other day. It was in training, and I was like, oh, I need to watch that when I get home, and I just forgot.
I'm interested because obviously Brandon Cronenberg, but I do not like Mia Goth, so I'm
Nah.
so
She's
skeptical.
fine as long as she's not doing, well, not speaking in her normal voice, or she sounds like a tiny starving British child from the 20s. Well, I would really like some pancakes, please.
I think like the thing I really liked about like Possessor was that like I didn't know anybody in it. Really, like like I wasn't really
Yeah.
familiar with any of the actors, and I feel like I don't know. I'm interested to see what it's gonna be like with Mia Goth and whatever Skarsgård's in it or whatever. I don't know.
Here's why I stopped really looking at news unless I just came across it, because then I see things like this: the resurrection of Charles Manson, upcoming Frank Grillo movie. Why?
Frank, what are you
Not,
doing?
not necessary. No resurrection needed here, sir.
Yeah, we stop making fucking
The
serial
mean
killer
one,
things.
unofficial Grinch
Oh my
horror
God,
movie.
that-
Also,
like,
stop.
come on.
Stop roping Frank Grillo into it. I like Frank Grillo.
I'm
Don't make him do this.
I am so fucking done with this fucking trend of the kids public domain story, but now it's a horror movie.
Yeah, well, I'm not interested
Especially
in
because
any of it.
everybody I know fucking tags me and I'm like, when are you guys covering these? I'm like, never, shut up.
Yeah,
Not watching the Winnie the
Not
Pooh
gonna
one.
happen.
I'm not watching the Grinch one. I'm not watching the Bambi one.
no. Hasn't Bambi been through enough?
Yeah, for real.
Leave Bambi alone.
All right. What did everybody watch this week? Katie.
Wow.
I didn't say
I
Owen
didn't watch
Wilson.
a
I
lot.
said Katie.
Wow.
Get out of here,
I
Owen.
saw a thing where somebody went through and they said that like they watched all of his movies to see like what percentage that he said wow in, and it was like 51.9% of the movies he's done he says wow in it. It was something like 87 times throughout all of the movies.
Great. Most of what I watched was for bonus episodes, to be honest. Like, we did Gremlins, then you and I did those like 5 episodes of stuff. I did watch Amityville Christmas Vacation.
How was that?
It was fine. It wasn't. So here's some spoilers for people if you, for some reason, even know what that is and are going to watch it. The premise of it is that the main character, who is played by Steve, I think that this is a reoccurring character. I'm not really sure, because even though he did like a giveaway where he, gave away a bunch of like his whole discography or whatever, and I won somehow. And he sent them to me, but like it was right before I moved across the country, so I sent all of them to Nathan, which means I haven't watched any of them. And so I think there was a lot of things in this movie that I think were like inside jokes, like referencing
Like other movies.
his other movies, which he does, and that's fine. So like all of it was lost on me. But so basically the plot of this movie is that he is playing Wally Griswold, who I don't know if he plays this in other movies, but he's like a cop. And essentially, somebody tricks him into thinking that he won a vacation to Amityville. And so he goes, his cat Gizmo is in it and is very cute. So he goes, and it like turns out that basically the person who set it up just like picked him because she doesn't like cops. Fair. And so he goes there, and she's trying to, and it's like not actually the Amityville house. It's like a house across the street from it or something that he stays at. And she pretends like it's a bed and breakfast. And so he goes there, and he's just like Mr. kind of like oblivious to everything that's happening. And so this like ghost shows up to kill him, essentially, because the girl has been luring people to the house to feed to the spirit or whatever. And then it ends up that he falls in love with, like, the ghost and him fall in love with each other. And so like, and then she gets captured. So I don't know. It's like different in that it's like not really actually a horror movie at all, because there's no gore, there's no blood, there's nobody that dies. And like, there's some stuff in it that I genuinely thought was pretty funny. But overall, it's like just okay. Like, I don't know that I would say go out of your way to watch it.
I feel like I'll end up watching it at some point because it's only like 45 minutes.
Yeah, like it's fine. It's totally fine. There's this one scene where he asks her out on a date to go like Christmas shopping at the mall or something, and she's like, I mean, that's fine, but like no one else can see me except you. And he's like, oh, it's okay. And so there's like this long shot of him at the mall on a date with her, just like holding her hand and stuff, but she's not actually there. And like that whole gag was pretty funny, but there's a lot of stuff that I felt didn't land for me just because like I think they were inside jokes and so I didn't get it. And so like overall it was okay, I guess is what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
But I mean, it's whatever. And then I watched one of my Christmas staples, which is 1998's I'll Be Home for Christmas, starring Jonathan Taylor Thomas, of course. And other than that, I just watched, like, again, I've been watching that Knife or Die Goldberg show and just, like, random stuff like that. So, not a lot.
What about you, Kit?
I only watched Les Samurai, and that was it. It was pretty good.
Samurai?
Yeah, Les Samurai.
Oh.
It's French.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I pretty much spent the week watching John Waters' filmography. I think the only new thing I watched was Clerks 3, which is perfect, and I watched it 4 times and cried every time. It's so fucking good. I was shocked how good it was. Even as like somebody that's actively like a fan of all of Kevin Smith's movies, like it knocked it out of the park with Clerks 3. I think that's it. Pretty much I'd finished like the Ernest movies and I was like, I'm gonna watch John Waters' filmography, and that's pretty much what I did at work the whole week. Shout outs, Katie.
My shout out is that every year for the holidays, my mom used to get me a chocolate orange, and I'm like obsessed with them now. And it's like literally, if you've never had one, it is a orange made out of chocolate, but it's like in slices also, so it looks like an orange. And I normally would just get milk chocolate, and they have white chocolate now, and they have dark chocolate also. But then they came out with one that has popping candy in it, and I saw it, and I was like, I don't know, this might be ruining tradition a little bit. And I got it anyway, and I'm obsessed with it. I can't stop eating it. So my shout out is popping candy, Terry's chocolate orange.
I remember buying one of those when they first came out, and it was the one that was like literally orange and chocolate flavor, and it was the grossest thing I've ever eaten.
They are chocolate oranges that are chocolate flavored orange.
That's
yes,
so gross.
It's so good. I love it so much.
Kit, what gross thing do you want to shout out?
Now Elon Musk getting booed for like 10 minutes straight by people who also suck.
By the people that
extremely funny
should love him.
Yes. It's so good knowing that he went up on stage thinking he'd like be able to say whatever dumb shit and get cheered, and everyone just booed the shit out of him.
Have you seen his excuses for like
Yes.
like every time he like responds to somebody about getting booed, he's got a different excuse as to why actually it wasn't booing. It was just a weird sound thing or something, or he basically might as well being like, I think they were saying boo earns.
Yeah. Fucking loser.
Yeah, he's the fucking worst.
Like I've been in a stadium with like, 2 or 3 times as many people, like teams that fucking hate each other. Booing was not that loud or sustained or full of hate. It was amazing.
I'm actually not sure when this came out. Let's sort of, I guess a little less than a month ago, November 23rd. Tenebro had like a new single or EP or whatever called Carne Umane. that's pretty good. It's got
Ooh.
an Impetigo cover on it.
Fuck yeah.
Um,
I'm in.
I think it's like Name Your Price on Bandcamp. It's pretty good. Cover is very much Cannibal Holocaust inspired, I believe, or something. So, go check that out. What are we doing next week? Alien from LA? Or does Katie want to try to do one more Christmas movie?
I think it's fine.
I was saying,
I think we
I think
can end on a not actually Christmas movie.
like the episode comes out like a day or two, I think, after Christmas. That's why I was like, no more Christmas movies.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I'm ready to let it go.
Yeah, let's do Alien from LA. I think it's on YouTube for free. I'll look, and if not, we'll change it to something else. Alright, if you would like to support us, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/IOBSufferPodcast. We got our regular bonus episode on Gremlins out now. Sometime either right before or right after this episode comes out, I'll have the episode Katie and I did on 2 Christmas episodes of Ultimate Spider-Man, and then an episode, technically 2 episodes of Batman the Animated Series, and then one from Justice League. Is pretty fun.
Yeah.
You can buy merch at our storefront here. You can leave us a rating on Spotify, rating or review on iTunes. Tell us if your veins make slurping noises.
Yeah, you ever slurped your veins?
Yeah. Like fucking Ricky-O. You can follow us on Instagram at IOBSufferPodcast. Follow Hidden Kitstery and Kitrification of Blood. Follow Katie at WerewolfFace, and you can join Katie's Patreon at patreon.com/werewolfface. You can listen to my other podcast, 8K Movie Club. Yeah, probably Alien from LA next week, which I'm very excited to talk about. Kathy Ireland's perfect acting. She should have won an Oscar.
Insane voice.
It's incredible. Like, just a movie of Kathy Ireland talking like she's shocked at every single moment that is ever happening.
Can't wait.
It's a banger. It's bad, but I fucking love it. I'd be very excited to fucking talk about it. It's
real nutty.
It's very strange, and like feels like Albert Pune saw like the Super Mario Brothers movie and was like, I could do this better, but with Kathy Ireland.
Great. Sounds perfect.
All right. I hope you Gorgie, but why? I hope Gorgie slurps your veins, but why?
Oh God.
He deserves it, honestly.
I hope Elon Musk gets booed everywhere he goes.
Same.
But why?
Also.
I just hope.
Yeah.